Hare Krishna. Let us understand Bhagavad Gita as it is, written by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters. So let us understand these chapters section by section. Before we begin the discussion, let us offer our prayers to our spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada and Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we will be understanding the second section of the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The second section is from Shloka number 20 to Shloka number 35. This section is entitled Material Nature, the Living Entity and the Super Soul. So let us understand this section. In the previous section, Lord Krishna had described the field of activity, the knower of the field, and the various items of knowledge. And now let us understand material nature, the living being, and the super soul, how they interact with each other. Krishna will be now describing. Lord Krishna says, Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Vidhi Anadiv Bhavapi Vikaramscha Gunamschaiva Vidhi Prakriti Sambhavan. Material nature and the living entities should be understood to be beginningless. Their transformations and the modes of matter are products of material nature. Karya Karana Kartritve Hetu Prakritiruchyate Purusha Sukha Dukkhanam Bhoktritve Heturuchyate. Nature is said to be the cause of all material activities and effects, whereas the living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyments in this world. So here Lord Krishna is explaining that when a living being enters into this material body, he will come under the laws of material nature, because each and every body is designed in a particular way. The way it reacts, the desires of the living being, the likes, the dislikes, and its behavior, its eating habits, its sleeping habits, everything is controlled by material nature according to the body which is designed by nature, and the living being is helpless in that condition. When a soul enters into a dog's body, he has to bark like a dog, he has to eat like a dog, he has to mate like a dog, he has to sleep like a dog. All its desires are all controlled according to the nature of a dog's body. When the soul enters into a hog's body, he has to eat like a hog, being attracted to stool and other obnoxious things. When the soul enters into a demigod's body, he behaves like a demigod, he is controlled by that body of a demigod. So in that way, the soul comes under the control of material nature and he becomes helpless once he enters into the body which is designed by the material energy and governed by the material laws. And then he undergoes various distresses and pleasures which are available in that material body. So he anyway experiences those pains and pleasures. So further Krishna says, Purusha prakritisto hi bhunte prakritijan gunan Karanam guna sangosya sadasadyoni janmasu. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with the material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil amongst various species. So as I was explaining, according to the body a living being enters in, he has to experience the pains and pleasures of that particular body. Now, what type of body a living being gets, that depends on his own past karmas and the desires which he has developed in his past life. According to the desires of a living being and according to the karma he has done, the super soul, the Supreme Lord, decides what type of body this living being is eligible to get, and he makes an arrangement for the transferal of the spirit soul into that particular body which he deserves. And he lives in that body as long as the Lord permits him to live. And then the soul is anyway eternal, it is indestructible, body gets destroyed. So the soul is transferred again to one more material body if he has not developed his loving relationship with the Supreme before death. Then he will be under the laws of nature and he will be transferred to one more material body. So this is all very nicely described here. So Lord Krishna says, Upadrashtanumanta cha bharta bhokta maheshwaraha paramatmeti chapyukto dehesmin purushah paraha. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the Supreme Proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the Super Soul. So in this material body, not only there is the soul who is the owner of this body, there is one more person, the Supreme Lord himself, who is known as Paramatma, the Super Soul. He is the overseer and permitter. Whatever happens in this world, it's all overseen and under the control of the Supreme Lord. Even though we may desire to enjoy in a particular way, whether we can enjoy in a particular way or not is overseen and controlled by the Supreme Lord. In his Paramatma feature is there in the heart of every living being. One living being in a particular body, he is allowed to live in that body and experience pains and pleasures of the body only when the Lord sanctions him to enjoy or suffer in that way. As long as the Lord permits the living being to live in a particular body, that long that living being can stay there. If the Lord decides that now this living being has to get out of this body, then the living being cannot stay in that body even for a second. So everything is fully under the control of the Supreme Lord, and he is known as Super Soul Paramatma, who resides in the heart of every living being, and is there even in the atoms. So in that way everything is fully under the control of the Supreme. Further, the Lord says, Ya evam vetti purusham prakritim cha gunai saha sarvatha vartamanopi nasa bhoyo bhijayate. One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity, and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth here again regardless of his present position. So this knowledge of how the living being is trapped in the material body, how he becomes conditioned by that particular body and experiences pains and pleasures according to the body he has acquired, and how the Super Soul oversees both material nature and the spirit soul. So knowledge of all these things enables one to get liberated from this material world. Therefore, having proper knowledge of life is very important in human form of life. So further, Lord Krishna says, Dhyanenatmani pashyanti kechid atmanam atmanam anye sankhena yogena karma yogena chapare. That super soul is perceived by some through meditation, by some through the cultivation of knowledge, and by others through working without fruitive desire. So, to realize that super soul who is present in the heart, there are different people who try to realize that super soul in different ways, that is mentioned here. Some people try to realize the super soul through dhyana, the Ashtanga Yoga process, and the Hatha Yoga process. They sit in a particular posture, controlling their mind and senses, and perform meditation according to the rules and regulations of Ashtanga Yoga, and try to perceive the super soul in the heart. That is one method. Some people, they try to understand what is this material world, what is this material body, what is the spirit soul, how they are all connected, how spirit soul is transcendental to this material world, material body, and how there is one more super soul who is beyond the spirit soul. They try to analytically study and find out. That is another method of understanding the super soul. And then some other people, they're known as devotees who understand things as they are transmitted in the chain of disciplic succession from Lord Krishna himself. In the Guru Shishya Parampara, the knowledge is coming. So they receive that knowledge and they understand things as they are. So in that way, there are these processes by which people try to understand the super soul, the Supreme Lord, and the spirit soul, and the material world, and how everything is overseen by the Supreme Lord. So this is one particular way. Further, Krishna says, Anye tvevam ajanantaha shutva anyebhya upasate tepi chati tarantyevam dutyam shriti parayana. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about Him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. So this especially refers to the modern age of this Kali Yuga, where people are not very well conversant with spiritual life, and in this age people are misled and they don't know the aim of life. So in this age, somehow by good fortune, if they come in association of a pure devotee of Krishna and just follow his instructions, they can also transcend the cycle of birth and death. Lord Chaitanya has told that in Kali Yuga, just by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If we chant this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and do Harinama Sankirtana in the association of devotees, we become completely purified from all material attachments, and we can also achieve liberation. So this is a very easy process and very powerful method given by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it is authorized method described in the Vedic scriptures. So just by following the authorities, just by following Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the acharyas coming in the disciplic succession, and under their instructions, under their direction and guidance, we fallen souls of this age of Kali Yuga also can achieve the highest perfection. So that is being described here by Lord Krishna. So further Krishna says, Yavat sanjayate kinchit sattvam sthavara jangamam kshetra kshetrajna samyoga tadvidhi bharatarshabham. O chief of the Bharatas, whatever you see in existence, both moving and unmoving, is only the combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field. So here Krishna is very nicely describing that whatever we see in this existence, both moving and non-moving, they are actually combinations of matter and spirit. So there is nothing beyond this in this material existence. There is material energy, there is spiritual energy, and there is a Supreme Lord who is the overseer of all these energies. So further Krishna says, Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishthantam parameshwaram vinashyatsva vinashyantam yaf pashyati sa pashyati. One who sees the super soul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies, and who understands that neither the soul nor the super soul is ever destroyed, actually sees. So the spirit soul is eternal, it is indestructible. Even though its spirit soul enters into various material bodies, it is aloof from the material body itself. It has nothing to do with the material laws. Only out of ignorance, out of desire to enjoy in the material world, a soul gets bound to this material laws and bound to a material body. But in reality, the soul is different. It is spiritual energy, matter is material energy, and the super soul oversees everything. To give the experience of independent pleasure, the super soul makes an arrangement of that experience. Without the arrangement of the Supreme Lord, a soul cannot experience pleasures out of matter. So it's the kindness of the Lord that He is trying to fulfill the desires of the living beings who wanted to enjoy independent of Him. Actually, a spirit soul cannot enjoy without pleasing the Supreme Lord. Through love and devotion, when we serve the Supreme Lord, that activity of serving the Supreme Lord itself gives real joy to the soul. This is the actual method of enjoying. But those who are ignorant about the relationship with the Supreme Lord, the process of Bhakti Yoga, they try to enjoy through the material body and bodily sense pleasures. They will never be happy, they will not enjoy actually. But the so-called feeling of enjoyment is given by the arrangement of the super soul who is there in the heart of every living being. So that is being described here. Further, Krishna says, Samam pashyan hi sarvatra samavasthitam ishwaram nahi nasti atmanatmanam tato yati param gatim. One who sees the super soul in every living being and equal everywhere does not degrade himself by his mind. Thus he approaches the transcendental destination. So here it is explained that the super soul is situated in the heart of every living being. It may be an insect, it may be in a very degraded condition materially, or the soul may be in a demigod's body. The super soul is there in every living being's heart, and the super soul is always transcendental. He has nothing to do with the various ups and downs of this material existence and the so-called elevated or degraded position of the spirit soul. The Lord is always aloof from these material differences, but He is situated in everyone's heart as the overseer, as the witness, as the sanctioner, and that is being described here. And then further it is said, Lord Krishna says, Prakrityaiva cha karmani kriyamanani sarvashah yaf pashyati tathatmanam akartaram sa pashyati. One who can see that all activities are performed by the body which is created of material nature and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. So once the spirit soul enters a material body, it starts behaving according to the laws of nature, acting on that body. The soul cannot actually do anything on its own freely because it is fully under the laws of nature. So that is being described here. Further, Krishna says, Yada bhuta prithak bhavam ekastham anupashyati tata eva cha vistaram brahma sampadyate tada. When a sensible man ceases to see different identities which are due to different material bodies, he attains to the Brahman conception. Thus he sees that beings are expanded everywhere. So the real way of seeing things around us and the living beings around us is being described here. A man in knowledge, he sees that spirit soul is same in every body. The quality of soul, Satchidananda, is the same. Same spirit soul is there in an ant's body or a demigod's body or a tree's body or a bird's body. Soul is the same even though there may be bodily differences. So according to one's desires and karmas, a soul gets a particular kind of body. He lives in that body for some time. There is birth, there is growth, there is development of byproducts, there is dwindling, and there is death. So the body undergoes transformation, but the soul never undergoes any transformation. The soul remains as it is. So those who see this reality, they are in the Brahman conception. They know that every living being is same. And in this way they are situated in true knowledge. Further, Krishna says, Anaditva nirgunatvat paramatmayam avyayaha sharirasthopi kaunteya nakaroti na lipyate. Those with the vision of eternity can see that the soul is transcendental, eternal, and beyond the modes of nature. Despite contact with the material body, O Arjuna, the soul neither does anything nor is entangled. So again here the transcendental nature of the soul is being described, that those with the vision of eternity can see that the soul is transcendental, eternal, and beyond the modes of nature. So the soul has nothing to do with this material nature. Soul is completely different. It is the spiritual energy of the Lord. And then, despite being in contact with the material body, it does nothing. It is not entangled. So only out of ignorance the soul is gets attracted and he remains in this material world. Once the soul is enlightened and it develops its relationship with the Lord, the soul becomes completely liberated. Further, Krishna says, Yatha sarvagatam saukshmyad akasham nopalipyate sarvatravasthito dehe tathatma nopalipyate. The sky, due to its subtle nature, does not mix with anything, although it is all-pervading. Similarly, the soul situated in the Brahman vision does not mix with the body, though situated in that body. Just like sky, it is there everywhere, it doesn't mix with anything. In that same way, the soul, which is spiritual in nature, even though it is within the material body, it is actually aloof from that material body. Further, Krishna says, Yatha prakashayatyekaha kritsnam lokam imam ravihi kshetram kshetri tatha kritsnam prakashayati bharata. O son of Bharata, as the sun alone illuminates all this universe, so does the living entity, one within the body, illuminates the entire body by consciousness. So here with an example Lord Krishna is describing, just like sun, it is situated in one place, but its rays are spread throughout the universe and it emits the particles of shining molecule, and in that way it illuminates the whole universe. In the same way, even though the soul is situated in the region of the heart, the energy of the soul in the form of consciousness is spread throughout the body. When the soul leaves this material body, then consciousness also disappears from the body. So, consciousness is the proof of presence of the soul. Without the presence of the soul, if someone pinches my body or my hand, we won't be feeling pain, because body is dead matter always. The pains and pleasures that we experience in the body is because of consciousness, and by consciousness is the energy which is emanating from the soul, which is there in the heart. So that is being described here by Lord Krishna with an example. Further, Krishna concludes, Kshetra kshetrajnayorevam antaram jnana chakshusha bhuta prakriti moksham cha ye viduryanti te param. One who knowingly sees this difference between the body and the owner of the body and can understand the process of liberation from this bondage also attains to the supreme goal. So by understanding what is field of activity, who is the knower of the field, and who is the super knower of all the fields of activities, how the living being is bound by a material nature and material bodies, how the living being can get out of the material body and re-establish his relationship with the Supreme. By learning all these things, one can achieve the Supreme goal. So further, we will be understanding chapter 14 in the next section. So this section ends here. Hare Krishna.